So over here we'll be starting with the PyTest, and what we need to cover in PyTest is what is PyTest, the PyTest conventions, how to make a test and how to run a test, and further on we'll be covering skipping test and all that which is needed in PyTest, right? For that we need to understand what exactly PyTest is. PyTest, it's a unit test framework for Python, right? So it's a testing framework which allows us to write the test cases using Python. Similarly, we've got different testing frameworks, that is unit test, nose and PyTest. But out of all these, we use PyTest because it has got a lot more advantages than this unit test and nose, right? So talking about the advantages, I'll tell you. It has got different advantages. This PyTest has got different advantages. Talking about the advantages, I'll be telling you. Firstly, it's easy to start with it, very easy to start with because of its simple and easy syntax. It has got easy syntax, right? Similarly, in PyTest we may run different tests parallelly, right? In the similar way, suppose we got 100 of the test cases in PyTest in Python, right? But out of those 100 test cases, I just need to run the 50 test cases or 40 test cases. So it can run specific test cases, right? Similarly, it may skip the test cases and it can have one or multiple test cases. So because of all these advantages, we will be using PyTest, right? So now coming on to how to install PyTest, we'll be going to command prompt. Over here, run as administrator, yes. So over here I'll be installing the PyTest. I'll write over here, I'll write the command, that is pip install PyTest. This will install my PyTest, right? So as I've already installed PyTest into my system, so it's telling me requirement already satisfied, right? Now if I need to check that is PyTest installed into my Eclipse, then what do I have to do is I have to write over here pip list. This will give me the list of all the libraries and packages in my Eclipse, right? So over here I've already installed PyTest. You see over here I've already installed PyTest, that has got the version, that is 4.3.1, right? To check the version, I may write over here PyTest version. So this will give me the version of PyTest, that is 4.3.1. So now working on with PyTest, firstly, before I tell you how to write a test case or how to make a test, what do I need to understand is the PyTest conventions. So talking about the PyTest conventions, PyTest has got different conventions. Firstly, the first convention is test case file name. It should start with test, right? Similarly, the test case method or the test cases will be creating should start with the prefix, that is test, right? So every time we run a test case or we run the test case file, it should be having a prefix, that is test, and similarly the test case method should have the prefix, that is test. So now we'll be understanding about how to make a test and how to run a test. For that I just need to go to Eclipse. Over here I'll make a new package, I'll name it as PyTest, finish. So as I earlier told you, I'll be making a module that will be having the prefix. Let me name it as test underscore abc, finish. Okay. Now I'll start on with making a simple test case. To write a simple test case, I have to write over here. Suppose if I need to make a test case that will run the Chrome driver, I need to write over here from Selenium import WebDriver, right? Then I need to write the method. It should start with the test prefix. I'll write it as test underscore case underscore a, case underscore a, and over here I'll just write the object. I'll create an object of this driver, that is driver is equal to WebDriver dot Chrome. I need to run my test case on Chrome, so I'll write over here Chrome, right? Similarly, I'll give the URL driver.get URL. I'll give that particular URL. Suppose I need to go to facebook.com. I'll just copy the URL from here, right? And I'll just give it over here, right? After that, I'll be using the implicit wait. And to maximize the window, I'll write over here driver.maximize window. So now I've created a simple test case in Python, right? That will run my facebook.com on Chrome driver, right? So before I run the test case, what do I need to keep in mind is I need to go to Windows. I'll be going to preferences, PyDev, over here PyUnit. I have to make changes over here. Instead of this PyDev test runner, I have to choose this py.test runner, right? Apply and close, right? Before running the test case. Now I'll be running the test case. You see, the test case will run. It will go to facebook.com. And what we get is test underscore k passed in 7.06 seconds, right? So this is giving me the additional information. It is telling me that this test case underscore a is passed, right? This is telling me just because when I go over here, I need to make the changes over here. That is, this is VV, that is verbosity. What does verbosity do? It gives me the additional information. That is, suppose if I write the another test case over here and that fails, it will tell me that this test case, the name of the test case that is passed and the name of the test case that is failed, right? Now, this was how we were running the test case in Eclipse. Suppose if I need to run the test case in the command prompt, then I'll just open the command prompt. Okay, so I need to go to the Z drive because my project is in the Z drive, right? So I'll write over here Z drive, right? CD. I'll give the path of the particular project. So I've copied the path over here. When I press enter, you see I get the path over here, right? To run the PyTest, I have to write over here PyTest, enter. So this will run my PyTest, but it's not running my PyTest just because it's giving me an error that Chrome driver executable path. Sorry, just wait. Needs to be in path, right? So it will not run the Chrome driver until and unless I give the path over here, right? Even if I have given that path into the environment variable, it won't run the PyTest in the command prompt. So I'll be giving the path over here. To give the path over here, I just have to write path is equal to, going back to the Chrome driver, just wait for a while. This is where my Chrome driver is. I'll just copy it from here I have to use double slash Chrome driver dot exe, right? So I've given the path of the Chrome driver over here. Now instead of this web driver over here, I have to write over here Chrome driver is equal to Chrome so I'll be writing over here from selenium.webdriver import Chrome, right? Just wait. Okay, so over here I'll be giving the path. I'll write over here executable path is equal to path. So I've given the path over here, right? Now if I run my test case over here, it will run the test case. It will go to facebook.com and the test case will be passed. You see, this test case is passed. Now let me check if it run over here, if it will be running over here or not. PyTest. You see, it will go to facebook.com and now will not be getting any of the error over here, right? One passed in 6.08 seconds. So this is how we run the Chrome driver. We have to give the path before running this Chrome driver, right? Now suppose if I change the name of this file name, if I change the file name from test_abc to any of the file name that will not be having the prefix test, will it run? Let me check it over here. Let me take another module over here. Let me name it as simply abc finish. Okay, so I'll be just copying this test case from here and then writing that again and again. I'll copy this test case and I'll just paste it over here. Now if I run the test case, if I go to command prompt, let me save it. If I run the PyTest, you see it will just run one of the test case. It won't run the another test case because we didn't use test prefix over here. So every time we have to keep in mind the PyTest conventions before running the test or before creating the test case, that the file name and the method name should start with the prefix that is test, right? So I'll just delete this from here. Okay, right. So next what we'll be doing is, we've already done how to make a test, running a test in PyTest. Now we'll be creating the multiple test. If I go back over here, let me create the multiple test, or let me just copy this from here. I'll change the name of the test case. I'll write it as B, right? Now suppose if I have to run both the test cases, these multiple test cases, what do I need to do is, I just need to go similarly in the same way. I'll be going to the command prompt over here. I'll go to the Z drive. I'll mention the path over here. Just let me copy the path. Okay, and I'll give the path over here. Now if I write PyTest, if I press enter, you see both my test cases will run parallelly. So I may write as many test cases as I want to. I may write 3 test cases, 4, 5 as per my need, right? Now suppose out of all these test cases, if from these test cases I need to skip one of the test cases and I need to pass one of the test cases, what do I need to do? For that I'll be using a decorator. I'll be adding a decorator over here. I'll write over here at PyTest. Before I write PyTest, I have to import PyTest over here. Import PyTest. So I'll write the decorator over here, that is PyTest.mark dot skip, and I'll write the message over here, right? Let it be don't execute. So I've given the message over here that is don't execute. So now if I run my test case from here, you see it will run one of the test case and it will skip the another test case, right? So you see the test underscore case underscore b, that is the second test case, has been passed, whereas the first test case has been skipped, right? So this is how we skip the test cases. Now suppose, let me take an example before you. Let me take a is equal to 100 and I need to skip if a is greater than 100. I'm just taking a condition over here, right? Reason, I have to mention the reason, that is don't execute, or you may write any of the reason you want to, right? If I just run the program, it will run both my test cases because it is satisfying the condition over here. So it will run both the test cases over here. So both the test cases are passed, right? So if I change this 100 to 101, if I run the program now, it will skip that test case just because the condition is not satisfied now, and it will not run the another test case. So this is how we may skip the test using that pytest.mark.skipif, right? Now how do we execute a single test, right? Suppose I have different test cases and I need to execute any single test. How do we do that, right? I'll just go to command prompt. Suppose if I'll just comment this. I just need to execute this test case. So what I have to do is I'll go to command prompt over here, say it right. I'll give the path and I'll write over here PyTest K, and I'll mention the name of the test case, that is test case underscore C. I'll just copy this and over here I'll write PyTest K and the name of the test case, that is test case B, right? Now if I run this, it will run one of the test case, right? It will run one of the test case and it will show me one deselected and one selected. So this is how we may execute the single test case, right? Now another thing is, let me take multiple test case. Let me take another test case before you. So now suppose if I want to execute the test case that has got the similar name, that is case in between it, right? Let me remove case from here. Let me write over here C. Now suppose if I need to run the test cases, these both test cases, because it has got the similar name, that is case in between it has got the name, similar names, right? This test case has not got the case name over here, right? So what do I need to do is I'll just go to command prompt. All I need to do is I need to give different commands. I'll just copy the path. I'll give it over here. I'll just have to write over cd. I'll write PyTest K and I'll write the name case. So you see it will run two test cases and it will deselect one of the test case, right? It will run the test cases that has got the name case, that has got the case in their method names. It will run the test cases that has got the case in the method names, right? So these both test cases will be running and this will be deselected. So this is how we deal with the test cases, how we create multiple test cases, how we skip the test cases and execute single test cases, right? We got different commands for running different test cases. Next, further on we'll be doing how to group a test case, parameterizing test case, and further on assertions and fixtures, all that, right?